All right, welcome to the Explainer. Dave Bautista has this incredible physique that feels like it was built for three totally different worlds: the chaos of professional wrestling, the demands of blockbuster movies, and the brutal reality of the MMA cage. Today, we're going to break down the unique fitness philosophy that made it all happen. So that's the big question, right? How do you do that? Bautista's physique isn't just one thing. It's a true hybrid, built to handle the insane and wildly different demands of three completely separate, high-stakes careers. So how on earth did he pull it off? Okay, to really get what he's doing, you've got to see how he completely breaks the mold. See, your typical bodybuilder, they're training for one thing, and one thing only: how they look. But for Bautista, it was a fusion. His goal was never just about looking powerful. It was about actually being powerful, being versatile, and being ready for absolutely anything. So, where do you even begin? Well, it all starts with a rock-solid foundation. The absolute core of his physique, that sheer size, the raw strength that became his signature, that was all forged with old-school, hard and heavy bodybuilding. This is literally where he built the animal. Take his chest day, for instance. There was zero wasted effort. He's using these huge compound movements like the bench press to build that raw functional power for the wrestling ring, but then he's also using things like cable flies to sculpt that cinematic look that the WWE demanded. It's always that mix, right? Function and form working together. And look, to support a frame that big, you need a seriously monstrous back. So he's doing these super heavy lifts like deadlifts to build strength right from the spine outwards. Then he's hitting things like weighted pull-ups and pull-downs to get that incredible V-taper, that width that just defined his whole look. They say all real power comes from the ground up. And Bautista clearly lived by that. He never, ever skipped leg day. And things like squats and lunges, they weren't just for looks. No way. This was about building the explosive drive he needed to hoist a 300-pound opponent up for a Bautista bomb or to plant his feet for some crazy movie stunt. And this right here, this is probably the most important thing to understand about his strength training. For him, a muscle was only as good as what it could actually do. Every single lift had to translate directly into performance. It wasn't about just looking strong, it was about being lethally effective. Okay, so he's got the size, the strength, but all that muscle is useless if you don't have an engine to power it, right? Stamina, agility, the sheer will to keep going, that's what makes you an athlete, not just a statue. And this is where his absolutely brutal functional training comes into play. Yeah, his conditioning circuits are legendary for being just insane. And for good reason. This is pure, raw, functional work designed to build a gas tank that just never runs empty. I mean, think about it. You got to survive those grueling WWE travel schedules or those 14-hour days on a movie set. You don't build that kind of endurance with bicep curls. Nope. It's forged with sled pushes and battle ropes. And it's not just about going the distance either. It's about explosion. It's about speed. Drills like plyometric box jumps and medicine ball slams, they're all designed to train his fast-twitch muscle fibers to fire instantly on command. That's the science behind that lightning-fast, devastating spine buster you'd see in the ring. It's strength delivered in a split second. But here's the thing. Here's what really sets Bautista apart from pretty much every other physique athlete out there. He didn't just act like a fighter. He put in the work, the blood, sweat, and tears to become one for real. He added this whole other layer of legitimate, dangerous combat skill on top of all that power. I mean, he fully immersed himself in the world of actual fighting. He put in its serious hours training in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for his ground game, Muay Thai for those devastating kicks and knees, and boxing for his hands. He didn't just dabble. He truly dedicated himself to these arts, and that completely changed how he approached fitness. And you know what? All that training, it wasn't just for a movie role. It led to this number, 1. That's his professional MMA record. 1 fight, 1 victory. The man stepped into a real cage against a real professional opponent and proved that his skills were the absolute real deal. So the big question is, how do you fit all of this together? I mean, what does a week actually look like when you're trying to combine elite bodybuilding, insane conditioning, and legitimate combat sports? Well, here's the blueprint. Okay, so this weekly split gives you a really clear idea of how it all works. The week kicks off with a classic bodybuilding approach, right? Hitting those major muscle groups on their own dedicated days: chest, back, legs, shoulders. But then look at the end of the week. Day 5 is all about that brutal, functional conditioning we talked about. And day 6, that's reserved for sparring, for drilling, for honing his actual combat skills. It's a perfect fusion of all 3 worlds. Of course, you can't do any of this, none of it is possible, without putting the right fuel in the tank. His diet is pretty straightforward, really, built on a solid foundation of whole foods. We're talking lean proteins like chicken and fish to repair muscle, complex carbs like rice and sweet potatoes for that long-lasting energy, healthy fats, and just a ton of vegetables. It's clean, it's efficient, and it's designed to power a high-performance machine. So, when you boil it all down, this isn't really about one specific workout or one particular diet. The real secret, the common thread that runs through his entire incredible career, is one powerful idea: adaptability. Just look at how he evolved throughout his career. It's fascinating. When he was in the WWE, the training was all about building mass and that explosive, ring-shaking power. Then he gets to Hollywood, and the focus has to shift to agility, to functional movement, to endurance for long shoots. And then, for his MMA fight, it was pure combat conditioning and sharpening his skills. His body and his training were never stuck in one place. They were always, always evolving for the next big challenge. So, if there's one thing to take away from his entire playbook, it's this: train for versatility. By embracing all these different disciplines, you're not just building a body that's good at one thing. You're building a body that's resilient, that's capable, and that's ready for pretty much anything life decides to throw your way. And that really leaves us with a question for our own training, doesn't it? Are we just training for a single narrow goal, or are we building a body and a mindset that's prepared for anything?